onto cable news shows to protest President Trump's efforts to make the government more efficient. Now, they're planning to vote down this simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this. It looks like that would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing, but it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns. I put a video out about an hour ago on social media. I encourage you to go see that. This is they have in their own words. You don't need to trust us on this. But Catherine Clark, here's one little zinger from her, quote, "Not only is it irresponsible and purposefully misleading, but it's also a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown," unquote. Now remember, this is in last year, years past. Pramila Jayapal, quote, "The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It's the employees who are going to suffer," unquote. AOC, quote, "It is not normal to hold 100,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want," unquote. I don't think I've ever agreed with her before. She's exactly right. Jerry Nadler said, quote, "Shutdown is really an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage." Yeah, we agree. So they and all their colleagues need to do the right thing. Democrats have been insisting they're fighting for federal workers. You're about to see, again, on vivid display, very clear the contrast. You will see one team that is working to fund the government and make sure we do the responsible thing. And you're going to see another posing the CR because they've now exposed the truth. They're not for federal workers. They're not for anyone. All the people they've said in the past that are going to be harmed would be by their votes. They're using federal employees as props. They're using Medicaid benefits and Social Security checks as cudgels in this thing. The threat of government shutdown, they're using it as some sort of attempt to wrestle power away from the President of the United States, who overwhelmingly won the popular vote, the Electoral College, in every single swing state. Here's the bottom line. If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government. I understand they have an important retreat this week. Boy, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at that party. Comes at a critical time since they don't have a leader, a message, or a platform. And I'm just going to say this. If our Democrat colleagues want to increase their 21% approval rating with the American public, they ought to start by doing the right thing and keeping the government open. I think that'd be a great first step. So I'll take questions. Jeff.
Good morning. You continually criticize the Democrats. Doesn't that imply that you don't have the votes on your side? Because you wouldn't need Democratic assistance to keep the government open.
No, we'll have votes. We're going to pass the CR. We can do it on our own. But what I'm saying is Democrats ought to do the responsible thing, follow their own advice in every previous scenario, and keep the government open. It's their choice. I wish it could be a unanimous vote in the House chamber today. That would be a great thing for America. But they're not going to do it, Chad, because they're on this lost, they're wandering in the wilderness and they're cursing the sky at the same time. And you're going to see that today. They're going to vote no, and they're going to come out and try to pan it. They're going to lie about it. And we're calling on you guys to call them to account. Make them tell you the truth about the bill. They didn't read it before they said all that nonsense. So ask them that. Ask them how they think.
The president went after one of your own colleagues yesterday, Thomas Massey, who does plan to vote against this. He says he should be primary. Do you agree with the president? Should Thomas Massey be primary for his vote against this?
Look, I'm in the incumbent protection program here. That's what I do. Speaker of the House, and you know me and my style and my, the way I do this job. I don't, I bless those who persecute me, right? So Thomas and I have had disagreements, but I consider Thomas Massey a friend. He's a thoughtful guy. I guess he'll tell you he's doing what he thinks is right on this. I just vehemently disagree with his position, but I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Speaker, you in the past did not vote for CRs when you were a rank and file member. You have said in the past that you were done with short-term CRs. By my count, my math might be a little off. This will be the 5th continuing resolution that you're presiding over as Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
What do you say to your conservative colleagues who have heard you in the past promise that you were going to start to go through a regular appropriations process, but yet again find themselves where they have to take a difficult vote on a CR?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll rewind and replay the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus here, Dr. Andy Harris, who said it so well. This is a different CR than anything we've seen in our careers in Congress. I've been here 8 years. He's been here a bit longer. It normally is something that's a patchwork to give us more time to try to get to the appropriations process. This is totally different. A year-long CR, which is the first that I think we've had. I don't know that there is a precedent for an actual year-long CR. It solves the problem because it freezes federal spending. It takes care of these immediate priorities that have been articulated here, and it allows us to move forward with changing the size and scope of the federal government. There is a seismic shift going on in Washington right now. This is a different moment than we have ever been in. The DOJ work is finding the massive amounts of fraud, waste, and abuse. We have a White House that is actually dedicated to getting us back onto a fiscally responsible track. We're going to scale down the size of the bureaucracy and the agencies, which has become the fourth branch of government. None of that was present or true before. When I became Speaker, I inherited a real mess. We had Joe Biden in the White House. We had divided government, and it was a very difficult thing for us to navigate through. I didn't get to do anything I wanted or thought was really important for the country. I did what we had to do, what was necessary, what we could get 218 votes for. This is a totally different scenario. By doing the CR this time, it actually is the responsible play and the conservative play because we are conserving the resources of the American people. And this is something that all of us have wanted to do our whole careers, and we now have the opportunity.
So would this be your last CR, sir? Will you support a CR?
Well, yeah, this is what I expect is that this White House is going to actually do its job. What a concept. This White House is going to send us a budget that hasn't been done in a while. This White House is going to send us a budget that's going to request funding for a smaller, leaner, more efficient, effective, accountable federal government. That is a new paradigm for us. And we're excited about that. That's what we'll be working on as soon as we get FY26 off the table. FY25, we turn to FY26, and that's when we have all the cuts and the savings that will be actualized at that point. There's a process, as I've explained in here. You have to qualify those savings, you got to quantify them, and then you codify them. Well, the codification process comes for FY26. You're going to see the administration and the Congress working in tandem to provide and present a better government for the people. And that is something many of us ran for Congress to do. That day's now upon us, and we're excited about it.
Mr. Speaker, the stock market plunged yesterday. It's going down again today. Part of the reason is because of President Trump's policies on tariffs, including the ones that were just introduced this morning. Can you comment here? Does Trump need to rethink what he is doing, given the chaos that we're seeing in the stock market?
This is how I feel about it. Many of us feel about it. The president has already proven what he can do on the economy. This is not theoretical. Look at the first term of the Trump administration. Prior to COVID, we've talked about this many times in here. After the first 2 years of the Trump administration, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. Go check it. We had every demographic was doing better. All boats were rising. We had a thriving U.S. economy. We were booming, and that's because of the policies and the strategy that President Trump led and delivered. We cut taxes, we cut regulations, we let people keep more money in their pocket, and we made America the first priority. That is what he is doing again. Now he's got to reshape and shape things because it's in a real mess. The last 4 years was a disaster in economic policy and every other measurement of public policy. So what President Trump is doing, I think of it sort of like when you're playing billiards and you're playing pool, right? You go on the table and the balls are racked, right? And you hit it as hard as you can. This is many people's strategy in the game. You hit it as hard as you can to break up the balls on the table and send them spread. Then you play the strategy of sinking them in the holes, right? That's what we're doing right now. It is a shakeup. And he said there's going to be a shakeup right now, but this is what's required in my mind to start the process of repairing and restoring the American economy. I believe that the strategy is going to work. I believe that sometimes when you shake up, that it's a violent thing on the table, right? In the game metaphor, but it always works out well in the end. And I think you've got to give him time. He's been in office for just over 50 days. This is the 51st day in office. Give the president a chance to have these policies play out. That's where we are on.